And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The Messages of Inspirational Stories is proudly brought to you today by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. That's SIXminutewebinar.com. And we're so glad to be here. I'm very glad to be here because I've been struggling. And Donna, it's so good to be with you today.
I
So
know.
good.
It's been a couple weeks, Jim.
Yeah, almost three. Yeah. I mean, I was telling Donna and Tanya, our other host, I said, this bronchitis deal, I mean, it just hangs on and on. It's almost as bad, not quite, just as a short analogy, but it's kind of like being born ugly. You got to get up every day and you got to work on that thing to make any kind of headway for the day because the next day you start over again. Oh, my goodness. Donna, I got to where I couldn't even. One day I said, I can't take anything more. I've taken all this stuff and I just can't take any more. My system is just kind of like up to my ears
Right.
and all the over counter stuff. And there's one thing that I took, and that was 3 tablespoons of honey with 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar in a cup with hot water. And lo and behold, I was sitting there. And you know how your body kind of craves something and you
Right.
know what it wants?
Yep.
And it was it. So what I did, I just got it and made a cup,
Right. Little toddy.
Oh, yeah. And Donna, I tell you, we've had a couple of great shows this week.
Yes, we have.
And I'm looking forward to the day's show because we're going to provide some great information for folks. And we got a show coming up in a few weeks. Donna and I and Tanya, we're all three excited to bring this show to you.
It's going to be amazing.
I think everybody out there can appreciate a 5-day show. We're going to do one full week on how to get out of debt and how to acquire wealth.
Right.
And Donna, Rennie Gabriel is a friend of ours. And he came from the post side of town, didn't he?
Yes, he did. In fact, he was so broke that he was collecting aluminum cans and cashing them in so he could buy groceries for his family.
That's what I like about Rennie.
Yeah.
Rennie literally did come from the post side of town.
Very
He knows.
down to earth.
Oh, isn't he though?
Yeah. Very down to earth.
Yeah. And he's very well to do now. And he doesn't have to work.
No.
But the reason he works is because he loves helping others
Right. He wants
get
to
out of debt
Mm-hmm.
and acquire wealth. And I spoke to him earlier this week, and he was super excited about being on the show. And ironically, when I mentioned to him my idea, he says, Jim, I've been thinking about doing the same thing on my podcast. I said, well, Rennie, my brother, you're in luck. We'll put you on prime time and we'll be your test monkeys.
Right. Right. Well, and it's an important topic. It doesn't matter what age, or what's going on in our world, in our political world or whatever. It is never a wrong time to get out of debt and learn how to save money. And and I'm excited. I'm super excited about this show coming up because there's a lot of tips I've done in my own personal life that have saved me literally over $4,000 a year. Just simple things at home that you can do.
Oh, yeah. And, Donna, the thing that Rennie brought out, he says, even CPAs, when they go to their courses and all that to become a certified CPA and all that, they don't even teach them how to balance a checkbook.
Right.
And you think about all these college kids that credit card companies just throw credit at them.
Oh, goodness, yes.
And even I don't care what course you take, I don't care if it's accounting, whatever, in college, they will not teach you how to get out of debt. They will not teach you how to control debt. And Rennie, he's going to go against some of the gurus who say only focus on paying off your credit cards. Rennie says you can do that. But a lot of times when people just focus on doing that, they don't have anything left to do anything else.
Right.
He says, yes, you start paying them off, sure, but you start investing in yourself
Right.
to acquire wealth. So it's a balance system there, and that's what I
Yes.
like. And I can't wait to bring that show to the folks. And ladies and gentlemen, all of our TV shows are recorded and they're downloaded from the station and uploaded to our YouTube channel, which is Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show. Almost couldn't get that out there for a second, thanks to my throat. But it wasn't my brain, it was my throat. Usually it's my brain. But, all of our shows will be uploaded there, and we're going to be bringing Rennie on in a few weeks,
Yep.
depending on his schedule and getting everything in our schedule. And I tell you, it's going to be a tremendous blessing because earlier this week, Tanya and I, we talked a lot about multi-level marketing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And today we're going to go over that just a little bit. And we're also going to be talking about how you present yourself.
Right. And that is so important, especially for people, Jim, who are just starting out in the world of a solopreneur, entrepreneurship. And they're really maybe a little uncomfortable with some of the things that go along with it and may not know how to present yourself, what little tips you can do to get comfortable in learning how to present yourself. Because when you can present yourself really well on camera, I promise you, folks, when you can do it on camera, you can do it in front of 300 people or 3,000 people. It makes no difference.
Oh, yeah, it really does. And the confidence comes in your homework.
Right.
Me and Donna were on a summit in India back in April. And this was a global summit. And the guest of honor was the king of Oman there. He was a sultan. And we knew going in, being broadcasted over in Indonesia, over in Europe, Japan, all over Australia, South America, North America, you name it.
Nigeria.
Yes, Pakistan. Oh my goodness. We knew there was going to be a whole multitude of people watching us.
Correct.
And as many shows that Donna and I have done, as many presentations as we have done, we used a cheat sheet. We used that 6-minute webinar. In fact, let me put our sponsor up there, the 6-minute webinar.
Well, I like to think of it as working, smarter, Jim, not harder.
Yeah, you bet. Because, folks, I've spoken on many stages, and I've been on big stages and small stages and itty bitty stages, been on Facebook Lives and, of course, here on the internet TV station. But the one thing I knew going in is that I wanted to make a good, positive impression.
Right.
Most importantly, and there's some guys out there that say, know what you mean, Jim. I wanted to sound intelligent because of all the people that's going to be there. And I think anyone could easily understand, Donna, that if the king of Oman's going to be there as the guest, not a guest host, but a guest of honor, a lot of people will show up just because he's royalty. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. He was not on the Saturday summit, but he was on the Sunday summit. And that was the day I spoke. And, he had somebody speak for him, I believe.
Right. He did.
But, it's important to understand when you're speaking, when you're presenting yourself, who your audience is, Jim.
It really is.
And who's going to be in your audience.
Yeah, because the funny story about that, the summit was about water conservation and rainwater harvesting.
Right.
And when Vanya first invited me, I said, well, I'm honored because I'm professional enough, and make a note of this, folks. You got to be professional enough to know whether or not you're going to be a blessing to that event coordinator or
Absolutely.
whoever invited you, because your job is to make them look good to their audience.
Right.
And told her, I said, I don't really, the only thing I know about water conservation is when my kids are growing up, I'd holler at them, hey, shut off that water and quit wasting it, you know?
Right.
But I wasn't a subject matter expert in that regard.
Right.
And we talked a little bit. We were texting back and forth on Messenger. And I said, well, I can give a great presentation on neighbor helping neighbor and getting the community to come together, get involved, and get things done. So that's what I did. And I gave my presentation on the Saturday. And then on Sunday morning, because Donna was scheduled to speak on Sunday, then on Sunday morning, I get a text from Vanya, and she says, Jim, can you be on the summit again today? And my warped sense of humor, I says, well, I'm out of makeup and my hair's a mess. But I was honored that she asked me again, so I didn't know what to expect. And she called on me to speak again, didn't she?
Right. Well, and and it just depends on what you do, whether, and like you said, how you can be a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I do is not about water conservation, okay? Teaching people to understand their energy and where it's trapped and how to
Mm-hmm.
release that, that negative energy and get into your high energy frequency.
Mm.
Really, it doesn't coincide per se with conservation of rainwater. But what it
Mm.
does is it tells you how to, my presentation, I should say, was how to help yourself be present in your energy at that moment. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of women over there who travel miles
Mm.
and miles to get water, and it's not clean water. And
Mm.
so, we talked a little bit about that, but like you said, Jim, it's understanding what you do, how you can present yourself, your audience, and making the host look amazing.
Mm-hmm. And if you'd like to find out our secret or find out how you can get your crystal clear message across without a lot of yakety sacks, without a lot of nonsense, and you don't need to be a polished speaker. My goodness, no, be yourself
Right?
and focus on giving good content,
Mhm.
because when you speak, I don't care if it's on a YouTube video, I don't care if it's on a Facebook Live or on a stage in front of people, wherever you might be, when you speak, it is not what you want to say. It is what is the audience interested in listening to.
Right.
Will they find you interested? Because a lot of people, it's all about them, you know,
Right.
and they talk about themselves. And well, we've all been there. We've seen people like that. And what do?
Tune them out.
We certainly do,
Tune them
Donna.
out.
We certainly do, because our time is more valuable to us than listen to them with
Right.
what I call the hyper diaper yakety sax. That's about what it is in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen. I
Right.
mean, they're up there, and uh, I saw some funny things there on that summit. I'm not going to mention any names or anything like that, but I saw some people that just, did you really say that? I mean, did you? And the one guy, uh, I tell you right now, he must have had some batteries in him like the Energizer Bunny, because he went on and on and on and on. And see, the more you say, the less they can comprehend. You're giving them too much information to process.
Right.
Because
I call it the Charlie Brown syndrome, Jim.
hmm,
Wah, 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 wah. That's what you end
yeah,
up hearing because there's just people who talk really fast and they want to get, oh my gosh, and they want to get all their information out. So they
Mhm.
start talking like this. And I have so much to say. And let me just keep going. You know what? It's not that. It is your message. It is how you can help people and how you
Mhm.
make them feel. That's it.
Mm.
So the truly, the less you say, the more impactful you can be.
Yes. Yes. That means a lot. I love what you said there about how you made them feel.
Hmm.
Because what are people going to remember about you after your speech is done?
Yep. How you make them feel.
Oh, yeah. That is so true. And that's why it's so important for your presentation to be aimed at sharing what you've been through,
Right.
what you can add value to their life and get them involved in the same emotion.
Right.
I mean, one of the best books you can read is a book where you can picture yourself in that scenario,
Exactly.
like one of the characters. And then it becomes fun to read.
Hmm. Hmm.
And oh, I love books like that. I really do because it just draws you in.
Right. When I get into a really good book, when I'm reading it, to me, it's like a movie.
Hmm.
I'm seeing the movie going on as I
Hmm.
read.
Yeah. My wife, for example, she prefers to read a book than to watch the movie.
Right.
She said because the movie it just doesn't deliver the value, the content, the feeling of emotion.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I like what Don McGrath said, and this might be a nice thing to know for you folks out there, especially if you're wanting to be an author, because if you're an author, you got to learn how to present yourself.
Right.
And Don says, if you're going to write a book, get others involved. Start a blog.
Hmm.
And not when the book is done, but hey, folks, I'm going to be writing a book and I'm going to be talking about this. And I got some characters in here and describe the characters to them or the scenario, whatever it might be, and get people to buy in because you know
Right.
what? That's a mini mastermind. And what do you get out of a mini mastermind, Donna?
Oh, you get incredible ideas.
Hmm.
You get incredible ideas that just piggyback off of other things.
Hmm. Don told me he hired this guy. This is way back years ago. He's going to write a book on fiction. And the guy said, well, the best way to develop your fictional characters is to sit in a room and picture that this character setting here, this character setting there, and so on and so forth. And then have a conversation with that character out loud, just like Mary. How do you feel about this? I mean, this is what we're trying to do and all that. And Don said Sylvia walked by and looked at him and thought, are you okay?
Oh, that's funny. I can see Sylvia doing that.
Oh yeah, because Sylvia's so down to earth and all
Oh
that.
my
It's kind of
goodness.
like, yeah. But I imagine you would get some strange looks at that.
Right?
You're sitting there at the table and looking across at an empty chair and saying, "Well, George."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But the thing about that is that it increases your mental capability in your subconscious mind to be able to create
Right.
meat and bones on that character.
Right.
And when you're getting ready to do a presentation, you want to practice it. One of the best things I can tell you about getting ready to you practice, you prepare, you practice, and all that. Record yourself.
Well, that's one of the things that we're going to talk about today. So let's just jump right into it, Jim.
Okay, sure.
When you record yourself, if you're going to be doing a presentation in front of people, record yourself via your computer or your phone. because you will see, well, we all have tells, right? And I know for a fact one of mine is when I'm thinking or I'm trying to find a word, and I do it here on the show all the time. I kind of look up like I'm searching for the word. It's just we all do certain things. But
Mhm.
it is really important to understand that when you are filming yourself, you're doing it so that you can go back and literally critique yourself. And it's
Mhm.
okay to be a little bit tough on yourself. One of
Mhm.
the biggest mistakes I have ever seen, and Jim, I'm sure you can absolutely back this up, is when people do a quick Facebook live blog or whatever, and they're on their phone and they're talking like this. So
Mhm.
how are you doing today, folks? And the picture is coming from here. And so all you see is right
Mhm.
up their nose.
Oh, yeah.
So it is important to have your head positioned because
Mhm.
honestly, when your head isn't positioned right, people are doing this when they're watching it. They're like,
Yeah. Are
all
you
they
talking to me?
right, all they're saying is, okay, I kind of hear him, but why are they holding their head like that? Why is their head up there so far that all you see is their nose? So these things are really critical. Make sure that you're
Mhm.
centered. Make sure also that when you're recording, there isn't a lot of, if you're outside, that there's not a lot of noise behind you,
Mhm. Yes.
right? Because that is a huge distraction. But
Mhm.
get used to being on camera if that's what you're going to do. If you're going to be giving speeches in front of people, do it on camera because you will become more comfortable with yourself.
Mhm. Just like I'm going to try to get more comfortable with this earpiece here. It keeps popping out on me.
I,
It might be all the pressure in between my ears. I don't know, but
right? It's
but
just blowing it out of the water, Jim.
yeah, yeah. But when things go wrong on camera, right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're on live TV.
Right?
About 17 or almost 18% of our audience is on Roku, and we got people on Apple TV, Android TV, Twitch, Periscope. I mean, just all over the places. We're E360 TV broadcast to millions of devices around the
Right.
world. So when something goes wrong, just make a joke out of it, like I do, because for some reason they said these things is one size fits all. Well, they didn't. They've never seen my ear. But make a joke out of it because
Right.
things are going to happen when you're on stage.
Yep.
And it's one of the things too when you're doing a Facebook Live. What does everybody say when they start out doing a Facebook Live? They say the same thing usually. Hi, Facebook. How you doing today? I'm so glad to be here. Don't go there. You
Find
sound like a
something different.
yeah. You sound like a human parrot.
Right.
The same is true with the speakers, because Don and I and Donna and Tanya, we've got a lot of experience in speaking.
Yep.
And one of the most common things that speakers say, "Hi, I'm so and so. I'm a coach. I'm a author. I'm best-selling book. Blah blah blah. And I'm this. I'm that. And I'm the other."
Minutes of
So
their dossier.
yeah, you've wasted 7 seconds sounding like everybody else.
Mhm.
And I'm going to teach you some things today about presentation. What if you start out your video, your live performance, whatever, and say, "Hi, let me ask you a question. How would it feel like if you could change your life today?"
Right.
Now, notice there, I did the power of the pause
Right.
because when you say to someone, "Let me ask you a question," zip it. Let that soak in because you just told them, "I'm going to ask you a question." Donna, if I looked at you and say, "Donna, may I ask you a question?" She's going to say, "Sure." But then her mind's going to think, "Huh, what's he going to ask me?" it automatically brings them tuned in.
Right.
That's what you want to do. You want to be able to reach out and touch people.
Right. You want to bring them right here, right here.
Mm-hmm.
All their attention is right here in front of you.
Yeah. You want to get them involved in what you're wanting to share with them. And that's so extremely important because people, within a matter of 10 seconds, they're going to determine whether or not you're valuable enough
Right.
and you're interesting enough for them to listen to you.
Exactly.
Because people value time more than they do money.
And one of the other things is that when you are giving any kind of presentation, learn how to um, enunciate certain words
Mm.
and then talk a little softer.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There are certain times that we want to be loud. Don't you agree? And then have everybody, raise their hand. Hey, have you been there? I have.
Mm-hmm.
Because that brings them into your world. That brings them into what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's called audience participation.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah.
simple.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple. But then when you pause and talk softer, you'll see people honestly going like this.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of leaning in. They want to hear what's next going to come out of your
Mm-hmm.
mouth and what your presentation is about.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed when I've spoken on stages and I don't stand behind a podium because in the subconscious mind, the audience is going to say there's a barrier between
Right.
you and
They're
us
hiding
or
something.
me. Yeah.
They're hiding something. Right.
Yeah. Keep your hands out of your pockets if you're a guy. And please don't jingle your car keys or something because that's a nervous habit. And don't put your hands behind your back because you're hiding something. There's a lot of little things like that I can, share with you.
Right.
But my point being is that I would walk off stage, go down the steps, because that automatically changes the volume and the pitch of your voice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also, too, it limbers you up.
Right.
That's why car salesmen are trained. Professional car salesmen are trained, and they know that if someone comes on a car lot, what's the first thing a guy's going to do? His body language. He'll stand there and put his hands in his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
That's a defensive mode.
Or this one, cross the chest.
Mm-hmm. That's a defensive mode. What's the first thing that they want to get that person to do?
Put their arms down, shake their hand.
Yeah, and get them to walk
Mm-hmm.
and point in the direction. Take their hands and let's over here. We have this and whatever, or something of interest. And have you seen this particular model over here? Well, let's walk over there and take a look at it because once you get them walking, they start getting lubricated and loosen up. Then you can ask them questions.
Right.
On the reverse side of that, if you go down and you talk and just talk to one person at a time, making contact with this person, look at that person, and don't look at the same people all together. And
Right.
don't just keep talking to the same people over here. And we're talking about this. And also another thing I wanted to share with you, because the folks over here is going to say, hey, aren't we important?
Right.
Learn how to look at one person at a time, all the way across your audience. And what you'll notice, if you're interesting, when you move from this point to this point, you'll see their heads follow you.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you know you got them dialed in. Not everybody's going to be like that, which is okay.
Right.
But if people are sitting there and you've lost them.
Right.
You have lost them. Go ahead.
And one of the other things that I think is important to talk about is make sure that, especially for folks starting out,
Mhm.
is that your attire is appropriate for the occasion.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
if I'm speaking on stage to a very conservative group of people,
Mhm.
I'm not going to wear bright red,
Mm-mm.
right? I would wear, a skirt and a jacket. I might wear a bright blouse. You know, nothing wrong with that, but it's conservative because you need to be able to talk their body language. And
Mhm.
that is one of the body languages. So if you go in a beautiful red cocktail dress, it's just out of place, and it immediately
Mm.
makes everybody feel uncomfortable because
Mhm.
it's not the right environment.
I'm glad you said that because when you said a red cocktail dress, I know a lady who shows up and her sole purpose is to be the center of attention because she's so important. And you go like, good grief, why dress down people?
Right,
Because when you overdress and you dress up, you've dressed down people, and
right,
nobody likes that.
right,
Nobody likes that. If I'm going out to speak or something like that, I usually just wear either a off-white. I don't like white, but kind of like a beige color, a light beige color, or orange, or a light orange or something. A light colored shirt, and I'll put on a blue blazer
mhm,
because that's dressy enough for me to
right,
present myself and to be able to communicate with them. Now,
right.
one time I was in Orlando, and you got to remember this gray hair and these glasses, okay? I had to speak on a big stage, and I was wearing a shirt, tie, and blazer. And I just felt, that's what I wanted to wear. So that's what I did, which is okay because it's, business dress. And I don't know how many people in the audience. It was quite a good sized audience. And I get on this elevator coming down. And these two ladies who are already on the elevator, they're up in years a little bit, you might say. And they're over there, and one says, looking at me, and that was back, like I don't know. And so we get down the ground floor, and I said, ladies, go ahead. I let them go. I exit the elevator first, and I got off the elevator. One of them says, excuse me, sir, are you Bob Proctor? And I looked down. I said, no, ma'am, I'm Bob's little brother, Billy. I said, he had the flu and couldn't make it. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I said, ma'am, I'm not in relation to Bob Proctor. I says, I was kind of, with these glasses and my hair, some people think that I'm him, but trust me on this, Bob Proctor is a better looking fella than I'll ever be. So I'm surprised Bob hadn't called me up and says, hey, how come you're impersonating me?
Right.
Well, I
No,
don't have the looks and I don't have the brain. So, Bob, you're safe, brother.
and I think, Jim, it's important to talk about this.
Mhm.
We've all done it. We've done it here on the TV show. You've done it on your radio show. I've done it on my radio shows.
Mhm.
You trying to say a word, and all of a sudden, your tongue and teeth do not work together. And instead of, I mean, it's obvious, right? And I remember, the best thing for me to do is say, well, folks, if I could get the word out, I'll say it. Obviously my tongue and teeth aren't working too well together today.
Mhm.
Just go on.
Yeah.
And it's okay, because when you can make an audience laugh,
Mhm.
that's another win.
Yeah. And when you admit that, hey, today, maybe Jupiter's in line with Pluto. I don't know. I'm pulling the cosmic universe a little bit off
Right.
balance, but somewhere or another, my brain and my tongue is disconnected.
Yep. Just not working in tandem today.
Yeah. And sometimes I do this trick here because uh, a word that's kind of hard for me to pronounce, I'll write it out phonetically. I will spell that word out phonetically. And one time I was giving a presentation and I had the card in my pants pocket. And somehow or another, I must have moved it to another pocket, and I couldn't find it. And I said, well, folks, I was going to tell you a big fancy word that I had written down phonetically on a card, but I forgot my card. So uh, since I don't know how to pronounce it and you don't know what I'm going to say, is it okay if we just drive on? Excuse me. And people connect with a person that's
Right.
imperfect
Right.
because so many personalities on you see on TV or you see on videos or stuff, they act like they're so perfect, like the news channel. I mean, when you see news anchors and all that, they're so focused on looking polished and speaking eloquently and all that. How many people do you know in real life
Right.
speak like that or talk like that? And I'm not knocking their profession, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that if they run into a little glitch, oh, well, we got to stop right now. We'll be right back right after this message,
Right.
because they want to cover up their glitch because it's not perfect. And in the
You know,
real world, that doesn't float, does it, Donna?
no, it doesn't. In case in point, it was I can't remember exactly how many years ago, but there was a glitch here in Arizona, in
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix, on the weatherman's, um, on that how hot it was all over the valley.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it had temperatures in like Lake Havasu, Phoenix, Chandler, Gilbert, 1,800 degrees. I think Lake Havasu, it was like 2,600. So something obviously got a little screwed up there. And he never missed a beat. He said, well, obviously, folks, as you can see, we are really cooking today here in Arizona. In Chandler, you're at 900 degrees, and Phoenix, you're hitting 1,800. Lake Havasu's 2,600. Apparently, you're just going to combust spontaneously. I mean, he just went on with it and rolled, and it was absolutely hysterical. And he
Mm-hmm.
never lost his composure. Now, I don't know
Oh, yeah.
how he could have done that, because
Mm-hmm.
I would have lost it. I would have been laughing so hard just saying that stuff. But it
Mm-hmm.
was remarkable. He just rolled with it. And it was perfect. And it's okay. The best thing you can do is to be yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just be who you are. Make sure that, if you talk with your hands, most of us do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big, user of my hands, my ancestry, whatever, I don't know, but I talk with my hands a lot. But just make sure they're not flying in front of your face. You,
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't want your hands to look like nunchucks.
Yeah. That is so true. When you were talking about the weather, man, I just imagine if he'd have thought of it, he probably said, "But folks, I got some good news. It's going to be a lot cooler tomorrow."
Right?
And I got to tell you a story about a young lady. This was her first time speaking on stage, and we were in Orlando, and she had her slides up there, and she had the little clicker, but something happened with the clicker. She couldn't get it to work. The slides were not running, and the slides is not your presentation.
Right.
The slides are just information there that validates what you're saying. And she actually said, now this is her first time on stage. She actually said, I don't need those slides anyway because I'm a lot better looking than them. And it worked.
Right.
And she put that remote down. She didn't have to worry about that remote anymore. She was already properly prepared. She had practice and she delivered a dynamite presentation.
Hmm.
And I'm standing there, and you want to know what I thought? I thought, thank you, sweet Jesus. I've already spoken because I would hate to have to follow
Follow her.
her.
Well, and the other thing, and see, and that's perfect, because the other thing is, remember this:
Hmm.
if you kind of forget during a speech, a presentation, Jim, here's one of the most important things I can give our audience.
Hmm.
They don't know what you're going to say.
Oh, isn't that the truth?
So don't beat yourself up because you maybe forgot it.
Hmm.
Just skip over it and go to the next thing. No one
Hmm.
knows what you're going to say. So you
Hmm.
haven't lost your presentation unless you say, okay, folks, I'm totally stuck. I forgot what I was going to say, and you end it there.
Hmm.
When you do that, you've lost every ounce of momentum you had.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And there's ways of handling that and working around it. And, you know, learn how to be able to get yourself out of a tight situation. Um, I remember seeing one person who had a um, hit a dry moment, and while the person was regathering their thoughts, they simply said, "Folks, you ever had a moment in your life where you have a brain cramp and you lose your train of thought? Well, this just happened to me, but guess what? I'm going to share with you something else that I think you'll enjoy," and went right on into it.
Right?
It was a fill in moment. That's what you do when you reach a gap. You fill in that moment and do it with humor. Because I like the word brain cramp
Right.
because everybody can relate to that. And when you're talking to people from all backgrounds, all religions, everything, uh, don't use the don't use any foul language at all. Number
Right.
one. Number two, a lot of people use the word brain, and I ain't gonna say the second word, but use brain cramp
Yeah.
because everybody can relate to that because you're gonna picture you going, oh,
Well,
you
and
know,
it's the other way that people say it is it's just a very negative.
hmm,
It's a very negative connotation that kind of makes people go, oh, okay,
yeah, yeah,
like, ooh, I got the weebie-jeebies all of a sudden.
yeah,
But and one of the other things, Jim, is keeping it simple.
mm, I love that.
So we both spoke, Jim, in many places.
Hmm.
One thing that any good coach, speaking coach, will tell you, right, is keep it simple.
Hmm.
You don't want to use huge, big, fancy words, right? You don't want to drone on. You want to hit, you know, 3 or 4 main point topics, and
Hmm.
and talk a little bit about each one,
Hmm.
but in keeping it simple. So
Hmm.
you tell your. It's one of the reasons I love this 6-minute webinar, but because it helps us just refine and define everything. But
Hmm.
honestly, when you talk too much, use big words, you will lose your audience.
Hmm.
And
And
keeping
but
it simple from your heart is going to pull more weight at the end of the day than anything else.
you're exactly right, Donna, because especially if you're trying to sell a product
Right?
and you use these big fancy words or these big, words that's not normally used, you don't use common English
Right.
and communicate at the sixth grade level, subconsciously, there's people sitting there and thinking, well, I don't really understand some of the language,
Right.
and I don't think I want to buy this course or buy their program because it's going to be above my learning capacity.
Right.
Trust me, it happens because some people get on stage and they try to impress people with their, eloquent speech.
Right.
And, you just saw where my radio show has over 6 million downloads. And the reason why is because I speak the same way on camera, on mic, on the radio show as I do off camera in real life.
Right.
Donna can validate that. And when your guests are on, your job, just like our job today, is not about us. It's about
Nope.
providing good quality information to the folks where they
Right.
can say, give them some points to ponder, give them some things that they can bite into, things that they can think about later.
Right.
And that's the reason why. our radio show has been so popular, we got our radio show got uploaded to other podcasts that we didn't even know about.
Hmm.
We were initially started out on iTunes, and I applied for us to be on iHeartRadio and got approved. Uh, but Audible, Amazon Music, um, Google Podcast, Spotify,
Right.
they picked us up.
Right.
And the reason why, and all about, we're on about, last I checked, about 15 different podcast platforms, maybe more, I don't know. But the smaller podcast, they go to the bigger podcast to see what shows is on there. If they see a show like mine, Your Future Is Now, that broadcasts from internet radio, Toginet radio, and they see us on, iHeartRadio and
They see you
Amazon,
all over.
yeah, they're going to think, we need that show. It's what's called harvesting in the industry. And they'll pull their show to their podcast.
Hmm.
And it's a win-win-win situation.
Right.
And I got to share one thing, if it's okay. We had just done our 9th broadcast. Now, I'd been involved with radio for many years prior to this, but we started our radio program April the 5th, 2019, once a week. And we passed 6 million. When was it? Back, I guess, when we had Marty Haggard on in July of last year. So I hadn't even kept up with the numbers. I'm not
No,
interested
year
in
before.
numbers.
Wasn't it you?
No, it was 2020. Yeah. You were there.
20? Well, I know I was there, but I was thinking we did that in 19.
2020.
I'll be
I
darned.
met him in 2018. And of course, now remember, right after we had him on Friday, and then I was able to go over to, trying to think of a little town here in Texas he was performing at. And it was about an hour and 15 minutes away or something like that. And he was going to be performing there Saturday and Sunday. So I went over on Sunday and, got to see him again.
Right.
And I was invited over there as his guest. And it was very, very nice to see Marty and hear him play. And of course, one of the members of the band that is no longer with us.
Yes.
Uh,
That's so sad.
Yeah. And, but it was wonderful to be invited there and see him. And like I said, going over that many downloads and stuff like that, it's all about the information.
Mhm.
And no matter what type of a presentation you're giving, whether it's on stage, on camera, whether it's a YouTube live, a Facebook live, whatever live,
Right.
make sure you're yourself. Make sure you use common everyday language to communicate to the average person
Right.
and practice. And if you want to sound real good like we did, because Donna did her presentation on Sunday, at the summit, and she used her 6-minute webinar. And I'm telling you what, she was probably the best speaker for that day. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because I remember there was one young lady sitting there the whole time, and you could tell she's busy working on a computer. And Donna starts talking, and all of a sudden she quits and looks at Donna. Out of all the other speakers, she stopped cold turkey in her tracks and looking at Donna doing it with her head like this. What does that body language tell you?
Right. Interested
Yes.
in what the person is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Caught their attention.
Mm-hmm. So that's why I can easily say with great confidence that Donna was the best speaker that day. And we're going to be doing another summit with these folks in August, the end of August. It's going to be televised on E360 TV, our wonderful TV station, our network here. And Aaron Hymas is going to be with us, and he's the president of E360 TV. And I may be an usher. I don't know, helping people in or out or whatever. I don't know. But I says, hey, wherever you need me, I'm good.
Right.
Yeah.
Focus.
And Yeah, because we're going to have panels, going to have keynote speakers and all that. And it's going to be a very wonderful presentation, 3 days. And it's going to be, oh, I'm looking so forward to it. How about you, Donna?
I am. I am. It's going to be an amazing event that's going to, you know what, be able to reach out and help so many people.
Now,
So many
if,
people.
yeah, and I was just going to say, if I showed up and Donna showed up and we sound like a couple of country bumpkins, or if we sounded like, hey, how's everybody doing today? We're so glad to be here. Guess what? You're in for a treat because I'm here. We would not be, we would not be invited, and they would have not considered for 2 shakes of a lamb still to have us. The 6-minute webinar is going to sponsor the summit.
Jim.
Yeah. Do what?
You made me choke doing that.
Oh, well, I mean, that's about how ridiculous some of them sound. But see, if we would have tried to went out there and tried to impress people with our persona, we would have been what's known in the industry as a one and done.
Right. Well, and the other thing is you want to keep your energy balanced, right? Because you want to be able to have great energy when you talk. You want to be able to, keep them interested, because nobody wants to hear you talk like you're depressed.
Oh, yeah.
And the same, though, goes as a polar opposite. Nobody wants to hear you talk super excited. And this is the best thing. And I'm really excited to help you. Nobody wants that much energy either. So either one of those, from the high extreme to the low will be a total turnoff. So you need that balanced energy in your presentation, whether, you're talking live on stage, you're giving a presentation at work, doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you're doing, you want that energy balanced.
Oh, yeah. That is so good, because I love what you said there, because there's certain words that are important in your message that you're delivering.
Absolutely.
And do 2 things. Please do these 2 things. Use the power of the pause. Let me ask you a question, and take a moment to look, or look into the camera and tilt your head, and then ask your question.
Right.
And if you're going to be, talking about something that's very important, the words that's going to be important. Focus on, and ladies and gentlemen, this new thing we got here, this will greatly increase your ability to understand.
Right.
Or comprehend. You pronounce those words phonetically.
Right.
Because that makes an impression. Because one of the quickest ways to bore people to death is stand there in the same tone and talk the same, pronounce every word the same. And you're just going to drive them bananas. And one time I was getting ready to follow a guy on stage. He was about as dry as a bucket of dirt in the desert. And people were sitting there, arms crossed, looking at their phones, all that. And I actually did something that I don't normally do. But I knew I had to shake them up and wake them up.
Right.
And I walked up on stage, and I didn't say, hi, I'm Jim Grant, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm the other, and all that nonsense, because that'd be about as interesting to them, as watching watching the grass grow or something. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, is it okay if I share a riddle with you? And I said, now remember, a riddle, the real answer is much different than what your mind will tell you. So I caution you, don't let your mind jump to the wrong conclusion. So I'm going to ask you a question. But remember, this is a riddle. I said, the question is, what is about 6 inches long? Women love it. No woman would complain if she got more of it, you know. Of course, now I got some strange looks. I reached in my pocket and pulled out $100 bill and I held it up and I says, I'm talking about money. It is about 6 inches long. It's got a head on it. Women love it. And then I'd walk down off the stage, and there was this one guy. You always got this one guy who's sitting there laughing like that. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, to some of you, shame on you. What were you thinking? And I pointed to him. I said, don't you answer that. And that way I shook him up and woke him up and I got him to listen to me. I said, many times in life, you know, things become like myths and they become confusing to us.
Right.
And sometimes if we don't know the truth, we can assume what the truth is, just like some people assume the wrong conclusion on that little riddle I told.
Right.
And then I went into my presentation. But I'll tell you right now, Donna, I got some strange looks on that one there.
I bet. But you know, when you wake people up, and that's what we're just trying to tell you, is learning to emphasize certain words and pause. That is so important. And then it's okay to talk softer.
Yes.
That pulls them in. That's another kind of a pause, if you will, because you're literally lowering your voice level, and you're getting them to kind of lean into what you're saying and pay a little bit more attention. And so when you wrap all of these around in a presentation, you know, with how you dressing appropriately, looking at the camera properly, practicing, that is key, Jim, especially if you're brand new. If you're brand new in a business, practice it, because the more you become familiar with it, the less scared of it you will be.
Yeah. And don't ever say, oh, folks, forgive me, but I'm nervous today. You know, that's no value to them.
Right.
It really isn't, because everything that comes out of your mouth should be focused on value to your audience. And I still crack up. We had one guy on there, and I'm not going to mention any names or anything, but he embarrassed himself and didn't know it.
Right.
Make sure when you ask the question, the audience is already prepared to answer it. He asked a question right out of the cold, and everybody just sat there and looked at him. Now, this is on a live TV show.
Right.
Global. And I was one of the people who I thought, and no one said a word. He bombed it right there. He bombed it. And then he just went on, you know, it was all about him and his presentation. And I think I'm going to retire this left earpiece. Either that or I'm saying some things that my left ear is going, wow, really, Jim? But
well, you know, like you said, Jim, it is so important to understand that what you're there for is to enrich your audience.
Yes.
Your audience. Doesn't matter whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, a radio show, TV, you're doing a PowerPoint presentation at work. None of it matters. You are there to enrich your audience. Period.
I was on a panel one time out in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was listening to everybody talk, and they kept saying, I this, I that, I the other. And I got to where, nobody likes to hear about I this, I can do this, and I can do that, and I help my clients this and help my clients that. And so it was my turn. I was the last speaker on that panel. And I said, well, ladies and gentlemen, what we do, we help people, get from where they are to where they want to be. And we have a team of people that's there. Because all these, I didn't say this now, but all these people, I do this, I do that for my client. What happens if they want to go on vacation?
Right.
And their client needs something? We have to have a team with us. And that's what you need to have. Oh my goodness, we've run over time. Oh my gosh, I'm a poor timekeeper. I love to talk. But just remember that you need to have a good tribe with you and surround yourself. And the way you're going to attract people is that people can relate with you by using your words.
Yep.
And on behalf of Donna, be sure and visit her website there, donnaguinois.com. And her email is high energy right now. Because if you need some energy, you need it right now. Yeah, come on down, like you like on Bob Barker. Come on
Right.
down. You're the next contestant for some high energy. But our time is gone, Donna. Thank you
It
so
is.
much.
It has
It's
been
been
a tremendous day.
It really has. It's so good to be back in the saddle with you here on the show. And thank you so much for being just a blessing to me in my life. I really appreciate you, sis.
Wow. Feeling is more than mutual, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure and visit us at the 6minutewebinar.com. That's SIXminutewebinar.com. And if you go there and you just scroll down, it's going to pop up that you can try the 6-minute webinar for free and no strings attached. On behalf of Donna and myself, we're just so thankful that you tuned in today. We hope you have a blessed day. Most importantly, love yourself, then you can love others. And if it's your birthday, Donna and I voted on this right before the show.
We did.
All birthday cakes and any special desserts on your birthday, they're health food. We
That's right.
voted on it. We were unanimous in that vote. So you
Yep.
go out there and you treat yourself. Be good to yourself. We'll see you tomorrow. Me and Donna be back tomorrow. And we're looking forward to sharing some great information with you. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye, folks.